So we're going to be working in Adobe After Effects. We can import into After Effects a multi-layered Photoshop document. And that means you'll have those layers to manipulate and to animate. So for example, if you brought in a logo file or a title graphic or something that you did in Photoshop that you want to have things zoom in and spin in and do all this other stuff, it's totally fine. There's a couple of steps, and I'm going to post screen grabs for you in the Schoology assignment that you're going to see. There's a couple of steps that you want to make sure that you do to make it work. One of the main things, and this is right off the top, one of the main problems that you may have is if you try to import a Photoshop document that is CMYK, it will not work. It's not going to let you do it at all. So any Photoshop document that you want to use in After Effects has to be, I'm going to go to File, Import. And we're going to file import a file. I know it sounds like I'm saying file a lot. So I'm going to say File, and then I'm going to navigate to this. And the name of the file that I have copied up for you, it's the Use This PSD for After Effects. And here's what you got to do. You have a couple of choices right at the beginning. You've got, so once you've selected your PSD, what you want to do is enable all acceptable files is great. That just means like anything that it can import, it will show. This is the main thing. You want to import it not as footage. You want to import it as a composition. And when you can do the composition, you want to retain the layer styles. So I'm going to grab a screen grab of that. So we're going to retain the layer styles, and I'm going to say open. Now it's going to give you this other dialog box. And the cool thing about this dialog box is you can change. You can change back to footage if you want to. Obviously, we don't want to. And you can either have layer styles editable, or you can say merge those layer styles. Usually when you're bringing something in from Photoshop with layer styles applied to it, you want to keep those layer styles because you want to try to animate them in After Effects. So I'm going to keep editable layer styles. So there's one more. And then I'm going to bring it in. And so what I've got is I've got this PSD for After Effects, right? Now, I don't have my composition yet. I don't have my document. So I have all my files in here, and you can see that it has imported each layer of that document as a separate element. But I need to make a new composition that's going to be the size I want it to be. And so to do that, I'm going to drag the composition, and all this was generated automatically when I imported it. So I'm going to use this composition and drag and drop it to the new composition icon right here. And that's it. It sets it up. So, and all this does is if we go here to composition settings, it tells me that it's 1080 by 608, 24 frames per second, and the duration is 8 seconds. So that's fine for now. If I wanted to make it longer, I could, but 8 seconds is okay. So now I need to bring these layers in, all these separate layers, and I can bring them all in at once. So I'm going to select them, and with the Shift key, and then I'm going to drag and drop here into my document. And you see that it even gives me this little preview box, and I want it to be centered on this badge. Okay, so now you see that automatically down here at the bottom, it's populated with all those different layers. Okay, I have my timeline out to 8 seconds. Now, just like that, I am ready to animate this Photoshop document. So I'm going to do a couple of things. Number one, I can turn the visibility off. I don't need this to animate it. It's fine. I am going to use this, however, because underneath this, if I turn it off, there's a patch. I don't need that right now. So remember, as I click on them, it's it's going to show me what I've got. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the use this blah 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 for After Effects down here at the bottom. So, and if I wanted to, I could turn all these eyeballs off and we'd have nothing. So just like in Photoshop, you can make the layers visible or not visible, etc. So that's what we've got. Underneath here, the rest of these are puzzle pieces that are not lined up, but they're each on their own layer. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use, I'm going to use this layer as my model. And in a second, I'm going to zoom in so you can see it a little better. Well, I guess I can fit it in right now. So, but basically it's this, and all these puzzle pieces are going to make that shape, and you'll see how we're going to do that. So I kind of need this layer to be under all those puzzle pieces so that I can see what I'm doing. So I can grab the layer, and just like in Photoshop, just like in Illustrator, I can click and drag the layer and change the layer order. So now it's on the bottom. What I also want to do is, just like in Photoshop, if you've got a layer that you don't want to mess with anymore, I can lock it. So now I'm not going to accidentally keep grabbing this layer. But what I can do now is grab each one of these layers individually. And obviously I can see that piece is going to go there. And that piece is going to go there. This is down here. This one goes down here. This is here. I'm just moving them. We're just moving. We're still in frame 1 of our animation. I'm just moving these pieces, moving this up to the top. And then my centerpiece, I'll do this, but I don't have to move it. It's in the right place already. And if I wanted to, I could always adjust the opacity of my base layer, but I'm not going to do that because I want to see it. So what I want to do is I want to quickly arrange these puzzle pieces so that they're in their final state where they're going to be. So I'm going to do this. Just going to align it. And you can kind of see, if you can follow along, just moving them in there. And one thing that I'm going to pay close attention to is the outside of the shield, because that's where I can really tell if things are lining up. Now there is like a faux 3D effect on this puzzle piece, on these puzzle pieces. So it's not gonna, they might be a little off. And that's fine, because we're supposed to still see the puzzle pieces. Okay, so you see that now I've been able to grab everything. And if I click off of it, this one's a little, this one might be a little off, because look at that line that goes down the center. So if I move that over a little bit and I move that over a little bit, that makes me have to move that. Actually, maybe my centerpiece is off. That's what the problem is. So let's move the centerpiece to a line. And what's cool is it's just like selecting different elements in like Photoshop. I mean, some of them are going to get in your way, some of them are not. But for right now, that's close enough. So all my puzzle pieces are where I want them to be. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the visibility off on this layer. And now all I have are the puzzle pieces. So let's put them on. Let's do their visibility together. That's my puzzle. Now I'm going to come to my timeline. Remember yesterday that we had to go to, when we wanted to edit some of the effects on the different layers, I would have to go to this little caret and open it up and go to transform and then click on position, for example, and make it where I wanted it to be. Well, there's a shortcut for each one of these. And the ones that we're going to be using today are position, P, scale, S, R, rotation. So now what that means is I can close this up. And when I go to layer 1, which is this piece right here, if I want to put a key frame at the position, I don't have to like open the layer, open transform, open position. All I have to do is highlight the layer and hit P, and position opens up right for me. So I'm going to do that for all of these layers that I'm going to be affecting. They're going to start running off the bottom because I've changed the resolution of my screen. So the reason why I'm doing that, and in fact, I should probably shrink this up a little bit so that we can see it. Now, to get my starting position, I'm going to go ahead and just hit the stopwatch. Boom, boom, boom. So right now, I have my position on every layer that matters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to, let's see, let's go to 3 seconds. And while this is open, and now you can look over here and see that I've got my diamonds there, I'm only dealing with position. So actually what's going to happen is the pieces are going to start separated and they're going to come in at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my keyframe. I'm hitting the diamond to make it so that it's not going to move. So now I'm from here to here. There's no changes. But the beauty of it is now I can come back to this and start moving things off. So I'm going to make the view of this piece, the view of this shield smaller so that I have more stage to play with. So I'm going to go from being 48% to 25%. Now watch what happens. So I'm set here. This is, we're just doing the first one, layer one. The position is here. I'm going to come back to my first frame. And now for my first frame, I want this to be out here. And since I've already done a keyframe at the beginning and a keyframe at the end, my animation, let me zoom back out so we can see it. My animation is done. So it's moving in. All right. Now make sure you watch this closely. Okay. Make sure you're watching the screen, because now that I've adjusted the position, when I move here to each, each size or whatever, I can come down and adjust it. The other thing that I want to do, the other parameter that I want to adjust is I want to adjust the scale. Okay. So I'm going to undo that move. And now I'm going to come here, click layer one. And instead of hitting the P, I'm going to hit the S. And look, scale opens up automatically. S for scale. It's not some mystery, weird keyboard shortcut. Okay, it's just the letter S because I'm going to be scaling. Now you'll notice I don't have any keyframes for scale. So I'm going to do the same thing, scale, 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 all the way down. And I'm going to move back to where I was at the 4 second point. Did I say 4 or 3? I can't, I think maybe it was 3. Now I do have to open up one because I have forgotten. So transform position. Yeah, it looks like it's at about the 3 second point right here. So I'm going to hit scale there as well. And I'm going to do the same thing with these others, scale, scale. Now I'm hitting the diamond, not the stopwatch. Okay. Now while I'm here, because I'm planning ahead, and let me just give you the spoiler alert. What I want is I want these pieces to be out, and then I want them to come in. But as they're coming in, I want them to go from being large to the proper size. And I also want to make them rotate. So we're going to do 3 changes: scale, position, and rotation. So we've set up the scale. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to set up the rotation. So I'm going to click, and for rotation, the keyboard shortcut is R. R, 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 R. And again, I'm just doing the baseline right now. So I'm going to click in frame 0. I'm going to click the rotation on all these layers. And in my 3 second frame, I am going to click on the diamond. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with everything. So that means I can come back and start my animation stuff. So let's start with moving them. So I'm going to come back to frame 1, because remember, this is how I want it all to end. I want it to look like this at the 3 second mark. So at the 0 second mark, I'm going to do that thing, and I'm going to move these off. So I'm going to move that. But since I've already got scale position and rotation, now I can scale it and make it larger like this. And so if we preview this, you see that it's shrinking and coming down, right? And I know that's really small, but I'm hoping you can see the box. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to zoom in a little more, maybe 25% with each of these pieces. So I'm going to move off. And as long as I'm in frame one, it's exactly what I want to do. And by the way, the difference is, and I'm going to show you this, when I move something, if I move it way far away, it's going to be technically moving like fast to get in, because it all has to happen in 3 seconds. So it's like if you move from here to here in 3 seconds, it would be like this: 1, 2, 3. But if you move from here to there, it'd be like zip, 1, 2, 3. It would be moving relatively faster. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm moving it further away because I want this piece to come in faster. This one, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna have it come in slow, but it's gonna be large. So something like this. And before I go much further, let's take a look at what we've got so far. And actually, I'm going to zoom in to fit in the window. And this is what we've got. So you see how that one piece in the corner zips in a little faster? So it comes in. So again, I go back to my 0 frame or frame 1, and I'm going to just quickly move these out just so you guys can see it. I'm going to stay at 25%. So there's that. I'll make it slightly bigger. And it doesn't have to, I'm just having them come in from different angles. I mean, actually, this piece could come in from over here. Who cares? And this piece could come from down here. And this piece could come from, we'll make it come from up here. Ooh, I don't want to show you that yet. So, well, we can also, by grabbing the little curve handles, now I can make it come in on a curve instead of just in straight. And I was going to show you that in a second, but I might as well show you that now. And I'll do that on another one. So here comes this one. It's coming in on a curve. This one, if I click and drag my little handle, I can change how it comes in. This one I can change, and there's the dot. I can grab it. See the dot and the dot? Those are the beginnings of my little curve handles. And now I'm just kind of going crazy. And so let's see what this looks like. I know I didn't hit them all, but I'm not going to waste time doing all of them. So you see how, like, look how they're not now moving just in a straight line. Some of them are coming in at an angle, and then they're coming together. And then it freezes together like that. Now, the last thing that I want to do, remember we talked about rotation. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And so we can see it. I'm going to grab layer 1 again. So you understand that I can change that at any point. I can change these lines like that. So now they're just coming in flat. They're just coming in straight. They're going from big to the proper size. Now what I want to do is I want to have them rotate and spin as they come in. So I'm here on layer 1, and I've got my rotation is already set, and I'm going to click on the X. Remember we did this yesterday with the globe, 3X, 5X. I'm going to make it spin 10 times on the way in. Okay. And then here I have to come to the other point. And by the way, I don't know if you can see this. You'll be able to see it closer in the movie or the video. These arrows mean you can go to the next keyframe. So I can actually move my cursor, or I can just do that and I get to the next keyframe. So, and that rotation is at 0. So do you see that? Do you see how it's spinning? And then it stops. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm actually going to turn off the visibility on all these other layers. So we just see that one. So I'm going to fit, and this is what we got. So it's going to come in, it's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning, and then it stops. So that's pretty cool. And we can do that with all of them. But think about this. If something is spinning in space, especially, I mean, let's make it spin 20 times from point A to point B. So if it's spinning 20 times, that's a lot of spinning. And don't you think that when things spin, they get blurry, right? So we want to put some of that blur in, and we can do that by clicking a button. So we've got layer 1 right here. Then you've got these additional check boxes, and the first one is motion blur. So if I click on this, on layer 1, if I click on motion blur, now when I do it, it's going to look like that. And the faster it's spinning, the more it's spinning, the more dramatic the blur. Okay, so that was 20 spins. If we come back here to this keyframe and we make it only 4 spins, and we come in, it's still blurred, but it's not as blurred because it's smaller, like the amount is smaller. And if we put it to one rotation over the whole arc, we come in, the blur is still there, but it ain't that bad. But man, when you're up at like 20 rotations, it's going to be pretty blurry. Now, the last thing when you're animating is, imagine this is like the real world. If this thing is coming in, do things actually come in and just stop like that? Do they really slam into place, right? They usually don't. So I'm going to come here to this frame, and that's where my keyframe is. And one thing that I can do while I select that keyframe is I can go to animation, and I can go to keyframe assistant, and I can go to easy ease. Okay, so I'm going to grab a screenshot of that, and I'm going to click on it. And so now when it comes in, do you see how it slowed down just a little bit at the end? So I'm going to remove the easy ease, and let's watch it without it. See, it's just like bang, it stops. But when I put the easy ease in, and I can't believe they named it that. That is so ridiculous. But so if I go animation, keyframe assistant, easy ease, it slows down for a second. And here's a top tip. If you really want to, go nuts, you could, and I'm just going to do it on this one layer so I can undo it. You could have it so that when it comes down, you could actually have it. I'm going to go to position, so I'm going to hit the P, and you can have it bounce back up a little bit, and then put another keyframe. Let's see, let me move this to here. And you could have it settle back down. Of course, I need to see this. So I'm going to settle it back down in there. So let me turn that off. And let's play it from here and see what it does. So it's just for a second, but you see where it comes in, bounces up, and then comes back down and settles in. So just something to think about. And then boom, it's right where it's supposed to be. So, and that's what we want to do. So I want to go back in, and now, I'm not going to waste your time doing it, but I can go back in and turn on the visibility on all these other layers, and I can, you know, do, you know, make all their changes. So for example, let's go back to rotation. So rotation here, as long as I'm here at the frame one, I'll do 15, I'll do 5. I'm just doing random numbers. I don't know where these layers are. 20, 6, 25, 12, 50, 50. Let's see what happens. So now when we go to play this, I missed one. Oh, and look, I'm off. I didn't put that back in the right place. I would have been able to if the other pieces were in there. But let's watch it again. And that's all you have to do. So if you can download that PSD and play with that, and remember the P for position, S for scale, R for rotation. That way you don't have to have everything open at the same time.